it's not actually that we're worse at communication. It's that when we have a mismatch of neurotype, because we are not seen as the default way of communicating, we are seen as having a disability. You know, autism is still a disability, but when it comes to communication, we are seen as like we're doing a bad job. And that's why we're having trouble communicating instead of just viewing it as what it actually is, which is a mismatch, which like, of course it is, because you have different brain types. So of course we're going to communicate information differently. But yeah, so the study pretty much just shows that those communication problems come down to just a neurotype mismatch rather than the autism itself. And that's what like degrades the information sharing is just that mismatch. And not because there's anything wrong with us or because we're bad at communicating or whatever other bullshit they say about autistic social skills. It's just because we have different brains and we process information differently.
They said that we'd grow out of it. Well, the joke's on them, that's just our brains. We're eccentric, loud, and stubborn. And most of our clothing is covered in stains. It's not a deficit of attention. There's just too much to think about. So if executive dysfunction becomes a little too much, if you forgot why you came in this room, or you're hypersensitive to touch, then put on your seamless socks and come join our little flock. Bitches stimming together, we're weirds of a feather. Weirds of a feather.
Ah! Caw-caw! It's a burger bite.
Burger burp. Burp, 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 burp. Are we recording?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just started. Yeah. Really want to capture those moments. And you know me, probably going to leave it in.
Yep. Per usual.
It's nice. People like those behind the scenes.
Do they?
I don't know. I do. I think it's funny.
If you like it, I also like it.
That's all that matters.
There we go.
Is that we like it.
Well, it's
That's a lesson for everyone. The thing that matters most is what's in your heart and what makes you laugh, you know?
I feel like that should be like in cursive in someone's bathroom.
Right? Yeah. Or like needle pointed.
Mm.
When you find joy in your own company, you never need anyone else. I feel like I'm writing a tea motivational.
Oh yeah, you
quotes
need
for
like the
tea
yogi.
bags.
The guy at Yogi's like, oh, write this down.
Yeah, get that.
Get that.
Yeah. I got lots of them. I'll keep working on my words of wisdom. But for now, we're just going to get into this bagel bite and say welcome to Weirds of a Feather, an AuDHD-Adjacent podcast. I'm your host, Grace Bray.
And I'm your host, Kristen Stanhope.
And this is the Bagel Bite.
Bagel Bite.
We haven't done one of these in a while. So get your mouths ready.
Prepare thy mouth.
Prepare thy mouths.
For a little bagel boy.
Yeah, just a
guy.
little nibble.
Yeah.
All right, before we get into this bagel bite, I have a warm-up question that I was thinking about the other night.
Yeah.
It seems really obvious on the surface, but if you think about it, there's more to think about.
Okay.
And then you think about that, and then it's like there's even more to think about.
Yeah.
It's like there's layers on layers on layers.
Right.
Seems simple at the surface.
Yeah.
You don't even know what's underneath until you start thinking about it, okay?
Yeah.
Prepare your brain.
Deep question.
Now it's going to seem really surface level.
No.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right. Once again, the answer seems really obvious, but like genuinely, truly think about this in a realistic perspective. If you could switch places with Taylor Swift, would you do it?
Ooh.
Like have to live her life where you're performing 3 hours a night. You're going on tour. You have to look a certain way. You can never be out in public ever alone without being recognized. You can never be discreet with anything. You can never just casually date someone. You can't have any secrets. Yeah.
Do I get to switch back eventually, or
No.
is it permanent?
It's permanent.
Yeah,
like if you could do it for a week, fuck yeah.
Yeah,
I'll call
I'd
out
make
of
changes.
tour
Yeah.
sick and just spend the week being Taylor Swift, you know?
No.
But like, no, it would be...
you wreak havoc from the inside. You get into her financial accounts. You distribute the money to where it should be.
Yeah.
To the people.
Yeah. And if you could jump back out of her body, that'd be great. You know, a real
because I don't want to
Robinhood
deal with
situation.
the consequences, right? Yeah.
But no, you'd be Taylor. You would have to deal with the fallout of like the downfall of Taylor Swift. Can you imagine?
Here's my other question. Would I still be dating that football guy?
Yes.
I guess I could break up with him, right?
You could.
It's not my type.
You're Taylor Swift, yeah. So you could do whatever, but you just have to keep in mind that like whatever you do has a huge global impact on people.
Right. It's
and
like
it affects thousands of people's
its own
incomes.
economy.
Yeah, Taylor Swift is a business. It's like saying, would you want to be Microsoft? You know, like there are so many people who rely on her for their livelihoods, and people who worship her, people who, if you don't show up to this concert in Cincinnati on Saturday night, you could ruin a little girl's life. You know, like there's just so many people who are counting on you, rely on you, need things from you. Sounds like a nightmare.
It does sound
honestly.
like a nightmare. It doesn't sound great.
What's your answer?
But like, think of...
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it seems like a simple answer on the surface, but then when you actually think about it, it's like, okay, but would I want to live my life like that?
Right. I still think if I did, which I'm not committed.
Okay.
What I would do is probably dismantle the whole business.
Whoa.
Because no one should be a billionaire.
I agree.
In a world where we have so much poverty
in the world and things that can be easily remedied with maybe $1 billion. $1 billion could go a long way, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's $1 billion. We don't have, like, our brains can't fathom that much money. And when you have multiple billions, no one needs that.
No.
Right?
And there's no ethical way to make that. Like, there were thousands and thousands of underpaid people who have led to her getting that $1 billion.
Absolutely.
You know?
So if I did, I would somehow, I'd have to play the part. Give me like 6 months to play the part, you know, figure it out, the intricacies of the business. Maybe it'd take me up to a year because I'm a slow learner.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
And then systematically, it would either be two ways, either like this slow systematic process of like redistributing all the money into like ethical places. Or I could pull an Elon, back Bernie Sanders fully funded campaign into presidency.
Just like Elon did.
And back all of the senators and people that I wanted in the government to make like a legit change. I feel like that's unethical because it's not really the people voting, but I mean, it's been got to fight fire with fire, right?
If one side's doing it,
you could do that.
Yeah.
Or,
all right, so your answers all rely on changing, like fundamentally changing
it would just
every
be like,
single
what would
thing
I
about
do with
Taylor
$1 billion?
Swift.
Yeah. What would I do with $1 billion?
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of the question you're answering.
Yeah. So
I'm talking about like you have to live her life and like you have to uphold who Taylor Swift is. What if she took over your life and she made you famous? What if you switch places, she becomes Kristen, she makes you famous. You look in the news one day,
That's
it's
a
like
hard
Kristen
job
Stanhope
to do.
from Maine at 35 is becoming a pop star. Wow, good for her. Second career.
That would never happen. But I guess
Final answer,
no.
Okay, same.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
No.
I think you could do a lot of good by like completely disrupting her entire business.
Agreed.
But at the same time, that's such like a huge undertaking to do. So stressful.
Yeah, and then you'd have to like live with the fallout, you know?
Yeah.
That sounds
what you could
like
also
so much
do.
work.
So here's my darkest answer. What you could also do is like all in one go.
Suicide.
Well, yeah, it would end with that. But all in one go, get rid of all of her money, you know, divide among whatever resources need. Because then you have to figure out where's this money going? You know, you want it to go to ethical resources and to be able to help people. But how do you get that money out there? How do you divide and conquer?
Yeah.
Figure that out and then make sure it's permanent. And then you get just enough of the fallout to make it like not okay. And then you end it.
Take yourself out.
Yeah. You're like, my job's here is done.
Curtains closed.
Yep. Yeah, show's over.
Great. All right. Okay. That
being
like a lot of
said,
work. Yeah.
I feel like that theoretically that would be the best answer.
Yeah.
But me being a selfish person, I would just say no and just keep living my life as Kristen.
Like,
yeah.
that's so much work.
That's a
Do you
lot of
really want to
work.
have to go through all that?
I just want to listen to my romanticises.
Yeah.
And I want to garden.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people really, really put celebrity status up on such a pedestal of like wanting to be famous, but it's like when you really sit down and think about it,
doesn't
do
seem
you
fun.
do you actually want to be famous?
I don't
It sounds like
think
a nightmare.
Any of those people are like have like healthy states of mind, you know?
No. Yeah, I think it's so unhealthy because like what are you asking for? That you'll be like worshipped and adored by
treated like a
huge
god
crowd. Yeah.
But you're not a god. Everybody's
you're just
mortal.
a human.
And everybody's favorite, the downfall of a celebrity, right?
Yeah, especially a woman.
Right? Everybody loves that. So
Yeah.
they're just like waiting for you to fuck up. I
Exactly.
can't handle that.
Yeah, same.
I fuck up even with people without waiting for it, you know?
yeah, just in my regular life. Yeah.
So,
All right. That's what I thought your answer would be.
yeah.
I can't stay up that late even, you know? I got to
I
do a
know.
concert at 9 p.m.
Standing for 3 hours,
Fucking kill
let
me.
alone
dancing. I mean, luckily
dancing.
she's not a very good dancer, so it wouldn't be that hard.
but also like singing.
Yeah.
What if
You'd
you
have to
just
do a
having, like,
lot of
off
cardio.
night? Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess she does. She probably does do a lot of cardio.
She does.
She
She
looks
definitely
great.
does. Yeah. But who has the energy?
Mhm.
All right. Well, are you warm? Are
I'm
you warmed up?
warm.
Yeah.
I'm warm. I'm heated.
That was an existential question, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Surprisingly
more
so.
than what you bargained for.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like always, you find a way to take the question in a place I wasn't expecting. All right. And with that, should we move on into Little Plishes?
Yeah.
All right. Little Plishes. All right, Kristen,
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go first since you have a very exciting
I got a
little
big push.
Yeah.
I got engaged.
Yeah, you did.
I'm a fiance.
Yeah, you are. So
Fiance.
weird.
It does sound weird and like
Mm.
mature.
Yeah,
which
you're such an adult.
I feel like such an adult now.
yeah.
I keep getting distracted by my ring because it's very sparkly.
You love a shiny thing?
I love a shiny thing,
Yeah.
right? And it's very shiny. It's the most sparkly thing I've owned ever.
What
And,
about that sequin tutu you used to wear in high school every day?
We don't.
Oh, okay, sorry. That was a secret. Burned all the records.
Told you never to break that up.
Yes, the ring is very sparkly.
It's very
How'd he
sparkly.
do it?
I was having a rough day. I was coming off a weekend off call and I was tired because I got called multiple times in the middle of the night. And I was tired. I was sad. And he was like, let's go for a walk. And so we went to this bird sanctuary that's near our house where we go all the time. And there's like this stopping ground. And so the one thing is on through the bird sanctuary, we saw a duck and it was a lady duck. And I was like, oh, I bet she has like a nest of eggs somewhere. And so at the stopping point, he's like crouching on the ground because he's getting ready to kneel. And what he did is he took one of the ceramic eggs that we use for our chickens to like show them where to lay their eggs. And he carved it open and made it into like a little ring box.
Oh, of course he did.
Yeah. Because it can't be a regular ring box.
No,
it
he's
was
gotta
very-
hand
he's
make
gotta
it.
hand make it. I'm surprised he didn't hand make the ring.
Yeah, honestly. Take up fucking forging
Yeah.
or whatever.
And he's like, oh my gosh, look at this egg. And I go, oh, it's probably the duck's egg. I was like, you should put that back because the duck needs that. And he's like, I don't think anything's alive in here. And I was like, why would there just be like a random egg out there? You know, it was very,
Yeah.
and then he's like, I think I could break it. I'm like, don't break it. It's an egg. And then he breaks it open. And I was like, oh my God, he's just killed a duck. and then he's like, you know, will you? And I was like, oh.
He had to have known for you that would be so confusing because
Yeah.
you're so focused on the idea that it's a real
if
egg.
we didn't
It's like you can't move on from
Right.
it.
I like fully
You're like still upset about the dead duck.
I was fully expecting him to like pop it open and there's like a little dead duck in
God.
there. Yeah, I know. And I was like, so like there was a video of it and I was just like, there's like a 3-second pause where I don't say anything.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm like second guessing. It's because I was like, oh my God, a duck.
I'm sure your brain is like buffering.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah,
thought I was going to
exactly.
see
I was
a
like,
dead
duck,
duck,
duck, duck, duck,
fetus.
duck, duck,
Yeah. Ring. For some reason. There's a
and
ring
then
in
I
that
just
egg.
kind of like hands, like Macaulay Culkin hands on face, like,
Yeah.
oh. Then I gave him my right hand and I blamed it on him. I'm like, you're trying to put it on my right hand. And he's like, oh. And then in the video, he just goes, sorry, I'm colorblind. It's
What does that have to do with
I think we were
left
both
and right? Yeah.
We're both panicking. How do we do this?
Yeah.
Good thing we have it on video so we get to relive our moment of like both of our
Awkwardness.
brains not working.
Yeah. What a magical moment.
Also, the first like 30 seconds of the video, he sat down on the grass right before and he had something on his butt. So I'm trying to
Oh.
like wipe his butt off. And it is
Great.
It's a video for sure. Romantic, probably not.
No, but you know, it's your style, you know?
Yeah, it's our style. Of
And
being,
you know
like,
what?
incredibly awkward.
You're not going to have any kids that you have to show it to.
No,
So
exactly,
the cats don't care
exactly.
that it looks awkward.
No,
Yeah.
no, they don't understand.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And good job, Christopher. Congratulations. Way to lock her down.
Old ball and chain.
Yeah.
No, I've even trapped him into this relationship so he can never leave me. And I tell him daily that we're going to die together. So,
Well, that's kind of like the whole thing of marriage. It's
yeah,
like,
till death do us
yeah,
part.
it's not really
I'm
like
going to
a
make
threat.
sure of it.
It's kind of just, we will be dying
Yeah.
together. Can you really say you've trapped him if he's proposing to you? Doesn't
Well,
sound
he
like
didn't
much
propose.
of a trap.
Yeah, well, he
He's
didn't have
kind
a
of saying,
choice.
yes, I want this trap.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's agreeing to the trap that I
he's-
planned.
Yeah, exactly. He's
yeah.
walking right into it
Yeah.
willfully. So
Yes. So
sounds kind of just like a situation where you've both consensually agreed to enter into a consensual relationship. You know, not so much
He's-
a trap.
consenting to be trapped.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. Way to trap him then.
Yeah.
I guess.
Got him.
Yeah, got him.
Like a little Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my accomplishment.
Nice.
That I didn't do. I just stood there and wiped off a bum.
Don't describe it like that.
Well,
You got proposed to.
I was-
and that's an accomplishment.
that is an accomplishment.
Not that that's the only goal in life for women, but it's nice to have someone propose
It's
to you. You know?
nice. Yeah, I
Just for
feel
someone
wanted.
to like want
yeah.
to marry you. Yeah.
Yeah. Buy
Yeah,
me a
it's
shiny
always-
thing.
it's always
you
nice.
know?
Yeah, you get
it's nice.
Nice rock.
Nice rock. Feels
Yeah.
weird. Yeah, I'm often distracted by it, especially while driving. So that's good.
No, please. We need to get you like a little cover. Ooh, business idea.
A
Along
ring
the-
cover.
Yeah, from the makers of Coughing Sack. We introduced shiny ring covers so you don't get distracted and like drive into a ditch.
Just has like a little hinge, like a drop down
Yeah,
to cover
yeah.
it.
Puts it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it.
I think
I
you could
want
use it.
one.
Yeah.
I'm an
I
investor
think
now.
you need one.
I do.
If you get in an accident, I'm going to tell everyone that you were looking at your ring because you probably were.
I probably
Yeah.
was. Yeah, that's how I'm going to go out.
It like sparkles into your
Yeah.
eye.
I've never owned anything so shiny.
It's just so shiny.
Mm-hmm. Grace,
Beautiful. Yes.
what did you accomplish?
I put together a wonderful baby gift
Oh,
for my friend Lauren.
oh, congratulations
and
on your
her-
babes.
She and her husband Andrew just had a beautiful, precious little baby, Lila. Welcome to the world, Lila.
Oh, that's such a cute name.
I know. Yeah, really cute. She's done such a wonderful job of creating like the cutest baby room ever. Like has wall. I think I sent you a
I wish
picture
I
of the
was good at-
wallpaper.
Yeah, I wish I was good at design and stuff.
Yeah, me too. We're not,
No.
unfortunately, but
No.
some people are.
Some people are.
So it's nice that we all have different skills.
Mm.
But she's created a gorgeous baby room and she's been so pregnant for so long. And I've been so excited for the baby to get here. And I'm normally not very good at putting gifts together or I'm
Mhm.
like scrambling last minute or I get the gift like Megan's onesie and then I don't give it to her
Mm,
for
mm.
years.
I still have a
So-
baby quilt in my car.
Yeah, I figured you did.
Yeah, yep.
I'm really proud of myself. I got her like because Lauren and Andrew both moved here to Maine a couple of years ago. They're not from here. So I wanted to get like a Maine-based stuff for
yeah,
the baby.
yeah.
And so I got her this like the Maine birthday book. This author wrote this Maine birthday book that was perfect that I found like at an antique store.
Oh.
So I got that. I wrote like a really nice message to Lila inside the book and I decorated the bag.
That's so thoughtful.
I got Lauren like a mushroom mug because we both love mushrooms and we always give each other like mushroom patterned things.
Oh,
What else? Oh, I got her a little blueberries for Sal baby onesie.
I love
Which
blueberries.
is
for
very
Sal.
Maine. Oh, and then
That's like quintessential Maine,
right?
The Lupin Lady,
Yeah.
blueberries for Sal.
Yes.
Make way for ducklings is Boston, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's
But New
close.
England. Yeah.
New England. Yeah.
Yeah. And then my mother-in-law, Judy, who's an incredible artist and is so talented at every single thing she's ever done, is really into making stained glass right now because of course she is. She's like absolutely incredible. But she made me a really nice stained glass nightlight for Lila's bedroom. So it's
That's
like
so
matches her
precious.
colors of like
oh, my
greens and
God.
orange and brown.
So
'Cause her wall-
freaking thoughtful.
I know the wallpaper is like a forest theme with
Yeah.
foxes and mushrooms. And I think I put together a really nice,
I want Lauren to come
little
over and
gift.
decorate.
she's got expensive taste.
Oh,
so
okay.
get ready.
I can't afford her then.
No, you cannot
Yeah.
afford Lauren's
Oh.
taste. Yeah.
Be a challenge. Can you do this on a negative budget?
Yeah. No, because she only gets the best of the best.
Mm.
But you know what? There are lots of designers out there who could help you.
Mm.
So
Trying to get your sister Lily involved.
she helped you, didn't she?
She did. She directed me in a direction.
Great.
Cool.
Cool.
I just need help.
You need someone to like plant, like do explicit designed for you. Yeah, I do too. I just have no idea.
I just have a hard time making a decision.
Yeah.
And I also feel like, well, if we do this, we must do that. Very snowballing.
Give him with some muffin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because we can't envision things in our minds. It's like we need to see it physically done in order to be like, no, oh, I don't like that, you know? Whereas people who can like see in their minds can just do that automatically without having to physically do it. Like
Right.
what a difference that makes. No wonder we have such a hard time.
Right. Right.
So we have different talents and skills, and there are other people who can do design. Okay. All right. With that, I wanted to get into the main part of this bagel bite.
Yeah. The bites.
Normally, we have a smorg of different bites of little tidbits, but this time I just wanted to kind of talk about one topic specifically because this new study just came out, and I'm guessing you haven't heard about it yet, I hope. And I wanted to tell you about it, and then we could like chat about it. So that's what this bagel bite is.
Okay.
All right. Oh, wait, no. First, I wanted to give,
You've got other things.
before I start, where is my head? Forget I just said all that bullshit.
Yeah.
I
You've got
wanted
two other things.
just one little other thing.
No, okay.
That second thing is the thing.
The thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But before we get into that, I just want to give a little shout out to the podcast that I'm currently producing. It's called Grow with Robin Breckenridge. My friend Megan and I, a couple months ago, we started our own podcast production company.
Woo woo.
It's called Flew the Coup Productions.
Flew the coup.
Yeah.
Oh my
Because
God.
of reasons. I don't want to go in. I think I'm going to do like a Patreon episode one day where I kind of just tell people about the drama that's been going on behind the scenes in this last year. But
one day.
Yes, Megan and I were working on a different project with a different group of people on a podcast. You guys probably remember me talking about it like last summer. That ended up kind of falling through because of different reasons.
Because of reasons, yeah.
Yeah, that we won't get into.
That's okay.
But
the beautiful thing is that you have grown from this and you have gone on to bigger and better things because of that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So ultimately, I'm grateful. But it brought me and Megan together, and we said, you know what? We could just do our own production company. So we have, and we started one, and it's called Flew the Coup Productions. And Megan does the social media stuff, and I'm doing the podcast stuff. But our first podcast that we're producing is called Grow with Robin Breckenridge. It's with this incredible woman, Robin, who has been working with Megan as like a social media client for the last year. And she's been thinking about starting a podcast. So it kind of all worked out perfectly. She is like a life and relationship coach, but not in like the hokey. I feel like 95% of people who call themselves life and relationship coaches are just like the worst people you've ever met in your life who are just trying to like profit off of you. Robin is very, very much not like that at all. She is like the 5% of people who are totally legit. She's so humble and down to earth. And she really emphasizes like, I am not a licensed therapist. This is not therapy. I really encourage you to like take this work and go work one-on-one with a therapist or someone else. So I really like that about her, that she's not trying to like portray herself as someone she's not. She's created this really great program called the Boundaries Pyramid, where it helps, there are 5 different categories within the Boundary Pyramid, and it helps you identify, like internally, it helps you identify which people in your life belong in each category, depending on like their level of emotional safety.
I love a good system.
Right? It's a great system.
Now I have to listen.
Yes. So I just wanted to give a shout out to it. Not even just because I'm producing it, but because every episode I listen to, I'm like, okay, this is like a genuinely really, really great episode that I wish everyone would listen to. Even if I didn't know Robin, I'd be recommending it to everyone because it's just like we all hear about boundaries, and I feel like that's been kind of a buzzword for the last few years, but so many people don't actually truly understand like A, what boundaries even are, and B, how to set them, and C, how to hold them, and also how to determine like who belongs at what level of trust and safety within our lives, because it's like so easy to say, well, it's, you know, it's my mom or it's my sister or it's my whoever, and I feel bad, you know, so I feel like I should give this person more access to me. But she does a really good job of breaking down like, it's not about your emotional attachment to this person or how much you love them. It's about like, when you look at the situation objectively, how emotionally safe do you feel with this person, you know, not as a way to like cut people off, but as a way to just place them appropriately in your own boundary pyramid and give those people different levels of access to you depending on how safe they are. So she does a really great job of explaining it and breaking it down without telling you to just like cut everyone off who doesn't serve you, which I think is another big problem that like life coaches fall into these days of feel like we see so much of like, if that person doesn't serve you, then cut them off, you know?
Right.
And that's not necessarily
This
always
isn't like the
best
Marie
approach.
Kondo of like your associates and friends and family.
Yeah, if it doesn't bring you joy, get rid of grandma. So, so she does a really good job of like teaching you how to keep these people in your life without having to cut them off, but also without giving them too much access to you and allowing people to like really, really hurt you. So everyone should go check it out. We just released episode 11 today.
I'm excited.
Yeah, they're everywhere you listen to podcasts.
Woo.
Our first guest episode was Minka Kelly because she is one of Robin's clients and she is absolutely delightful. Oh my God, she's like the most beautiful, lovely, wonderful, kind, empathetic person ever. So I highly recommend listening to that episode and then checking out all of Robin's solo episodes too, because she does a great job of breaking down that boundaries pyramid. Okay, now I'm going to get into the main thing that I wanted to talk about.
Here.
Katie Osaurus on TikTok, who I've talked about before. She's like a AuDHD creator.
Mm-hmm.
She just made a TikTok the other day discussing the study that just came out from the University of Edinburgh titled Information Transfer Within and Between Autistic and Non-Autistic People. It's on PubMed if you want to go check it out. I'll put it in the resources. All right. But this study shows that contrary to popular belief, there is no significant difference in the effectiveness of how autistic and non-autistic people communicate. The difference that they found is whether an autistic person is speaking to another autistic person or to a neurotypical. So despite everything that we've thought up until now, and Katie phrased it as like in news that like anyone could have, that any autistic person like could have told you already, you know, because it's like we have all been saying this, that we don't have a communication deficit. It's just a mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
But social challenges is one of
It is how the communication is being perceived by someone else.
Yes.
I think.
And it's even a requirement for diagnosis for autism is that you have to have that social component of struggling with social communication. But of course, it's not actually that we're worse at communication. It's that when we have a mismatch of neurotype, because we are not seen as the default way of communicating, we are seen as having a disability. You know, autism is still a disability, but when it comes to communication, we are seen as like we're doing a bad job. And that's why we're having trouble communicating instead of just viewing it as what it actually is, which is a mismatch, which like, of course it is, because you have different brain types. So of course we're going to communicate information differently. But yeah, so the study pretty much just shows that those communication problems come down to just a neurotype mismatch rather than the autism itself. And that's what like degrades the information sharing is just that mismatch. And not because there's anything wrong with us or because we're bad at communicating or whatever other bullshit they say about autistic social skills. It's just because we have different brains and we process information differently. So seems kind of like common sense, but at the same time, it's really nice to like have that in a study.
In a like a peer-reviewed study.
Yes.
It's nice to have that information. At the same time, it's kind of infuriating that it's taken this long.
Be like, whoa, what if they're not wrong?
Right.
They're just different.
Whoa,
No, then we
wait.
got to get a study. We got to do some trials. That can't be right.
Yeah, we need subjects, a hypothesis.
Yeah.
We got to get going on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, at the same time, it is nice to have that in like a peer-reviewed journal where you can, you know, that is like definitive and saying like, we've done this and we can see with like statistics and numbers that this is what's happening.
Exactly. That just came out last week.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where things go from there. But I don't know if that would lead to them. Like they need to rewrite the DSM diagnostic criteria for autism anyway. But also we're in this weird place where it's like, if you're in the US, I don't think you should be seeking out an autism diagnosis. And I know you have an RFK episode.
We got an episode
right after
next
this
week that's going to be quite the downer.
Yeah. So
kind of talking about some things.
Yeah. So if you're in the US, I don't think it's necessarily a great idea to like seek out that diagnosis anyways.
I think it depends.
I wouldn't unless your child needs access to services.
Yeah.
But like as
the
an
same
adult,
time, those services are probably going to go away.
Exactly. And then they'll be on a list. So like not to fearmonger, but this is happening. This isn't me being dramatic.
No, we're going to talk about
They're
it.
trying to gather lists of
people,
autistic people. So I don't think it's dramatic to say like, if you don't absolutely need a diagnosis right now and you're in the US, I would hold off on it because
I agree.
no need to put yourself on a list.
Don't put yourself on a list.
And like we've said before, self-diagnosis is valid
Mhm.
as long as you're
Don't
like
let people on TikTok tell you no.
exactly, because people are always like, well, then the problem is everyone just says they're autistic. It's like, okay, when we say self-diagnosis, I'm not saying have the thought of, I wonder if I'm autistic, and then you claim it. Anyone who suspects that they are autistic is because you're autistic. You're doing the research. You're taking a bunch of assessments. Like you're reading stuff, you're learning stuff, you're analyzing yourself. You're really thinking very, very deeply about your own traits and qualities. So
Yeah.
I don't think most people are doing it willy-nilly.
I think the people who are wrong about being or diagnosing themselves incorrectly with autism are few and far in between. You
Exactly,
know? I think that number is so small.
And I think those people will be doing it regardless of whether or not we were saying self-diagnosis is valid. I feel like those people who want attention or want to kind of co-opt this identity because they think it's like kind of quirky and interesting, like that's a very, very small percentage, and they would be doing that weird shit anyways. So I'm going to continue to encourage people to lean towards self-diagnosis rather than official diagnosis if you truly, genuinely believe that you are autistic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of the only thing that I wanted to share this episode. Let us know what you guys think about this. Is this like a huge revelation in your life, or are you like, yeah, no shit? You know, because that's how I felt. Like it, like you said, it's great to have it like on the books,
writing,
peer reviewed.
Yep.
But it's all stuff that we very much could have told these researchers of like, yeah, no, of course, it's not just a problem with us. I feel like I can be a very good communicator, and people like are misinterpreting me, not understanding me, assuming that I'm the one doing something wrong because it's just different than what they're used to.
I feel like, especially in medicine, you have to be so direct. There shouldn't be any implications, you know?
Yes.
And I think sometimes I get into, not trouble, but like I ask quite a bit of questions, and I should ask more. I think sometimes I'm like, oh, now they're getting annoyed, and I don't. But when I really should, just to like make sure those clarifying questions. How long are we going to put them on antibiotics? You know, when are we taking these drains? You know, things need to be like very, very specific. And there's no room for being like, well, it's implied that, you know, no, it's not implied. The standard of care is ABC. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, that's another problem with it. And that kind of comes down to that top down versus bottom up thinking that we have talked about many times, where you are wanting to get every single detail to make sure you're doing it correctly, which is truly, even though it takes maybe more time, that's the way it should be done, to make sure every little piece is going to be covered. Whereas if you're a top-down processor, you just assume that someone will be able to fill in those details automatically without having to like discuss them. So that doesn't feel like we're being poor communicators. It feels like the other people are, if anything.
I feel like, yeah.
You know?
I don't want to be like, neurotypicals suck.
Well, no, it's not saying that. It's saying that like when if we're going to say anyone struggles with communication, I would say that people who withhold details and get annoyed when we want details are not exhibiting perfect communication skills, you know?
Right.
It's not like they're the gold standard.
Right. I feel like there's also with neurotypicals, they have that, there's like some sort of like social communication that is there that many autistics don't have. So there are a lot of like, well, it's these like implications, and these things are like, well, everybody should know, but they don't.
Yeah.
And then when you like question them about it, they're like, wow. So
you should have known.
You should have known. I also feel like especially in medicine, sometimes I feel like when things are implied, it's because the person doesn't know the answer. Yeah. Well, it's implied that,
and I think that's part of it too.
Right.
Is that they make us feel stupid for asking questions because they're deflecting because they don't know the answers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think people do that all the time.
I hate that.
Yes. And they're like, it's not that deep or whatever. It's
just
like, it is.
You
just can't go beneath the surface.
Right.
Yeah, just say you don't know. It's fine. But yeah, let us know what your thoughts are on the study. I was going to say one last thing is I'm sure this is the case, but I'm going to look into it and see if there's any like official studies. I bet the discrepancies of those communication challenges is much bigger. Like the discrepancy is much bigger in countries like the US, where a big part of our socializing is based in kind of not telling the truth and kind of doing white lies and putting on this performance of politeness. Whereas if you look at like Asian cultures, for example, there's a lot
Very
more
blunt.
bluntness
That,
from
I think
everyone.
about that
and I
a
really
lot.
appreciate it.
And like Germany is very blunt.
Yes.
Like even the language
Yes.
is it's exactly
Not
what it
flowery.
is.
Yeah.
And so I think about that a lot. I was actually going to bring it up one day, but I keep forgetting. But like, what is, nature versus nurture? What is autism versus what is like the environment you grew up in? Would we do better in like an East Asian country where things are like just blunt and matter
Literally,
of fact?
yes, I think we would.
And
in most countries besides the U.S., we are like one of the phoniest
why are we so delicate?
countries. Probably because of fucking Christianity.
The pilgrims.
It's the pilgrims. Yeah. Well, it's like, there's like purity culture and there's like social hierarchy and there's white supremacy, which is very based in like conformity and having everyone kind of follow the same path and behaving the same and talking the same and acting the same. So you're going to like that culture is going to develop all these kind of fake social niceties in order to keep up this performance of uniformity.
Right.
And so I feel like the more uniform a society is, the more bullshit you're going to find within their society.
Yeah, I feel like, there's a lot of different like cultures that are just so blunt. Like I think someone I knew, maybe it was a TikTok. Basically, they were a little bit overweight and they went to,
oh God,
I think it was like Taiwan or it doesn't matter. But basically, people were like, "You are fat."
Yes,
and one, rude, but two, like. It wasn't said out of like ew. It was said of like
it's
your
an
eyes
observation.
are blue.
Yes,
and you are fat.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of, it's just funny that is just how the normal is. And I don't know. I think of that a lot. Like what are the, I guess, are the diagnostic criteria for autism different in different countries?
They should be.
Should they be based on like the social mannerisms that, because since it's such like a social, and it's also like how are you perceived if like, we lived in Germany where like down to the language is a very like matter of fact culture. I know there's a big autistic community in Germany because they're all in Berlin, because someone wrote to us from Berlin asking us to go out there, which we would love to.
And of course there's other aspects of autism. It's not just the social stuff, so of course even within those countries you're still going to have the same amount of autistic people. It's just like, do they have fewer social or communication challenges at least, because the expectation, like everyone communicates a lot more similarly regardless of neurotype,
right,
as opposed to here where it's like, if you're autistic and you're blunt and you don't pick up intuitively on these like unwritten social rules, you are going to be so behind everyone. And you're going to seem so different because everyone else is like following this imaginary playbook that they all seem to know and we don't.
And I think that's important that you bring up the social aspect is just one part of autism. There's so many more things, which makes me think maybe that's something I'll just look into, is like, what are the different diagnostic criteria?
Yeah, and then there's also like cultural factors, like in China, for example, it's kind of taboo to even, in certain places, to even...
Well, mental illness, and even though autism is technically a neurodivergency, it's kind of like under this umbrella of like mental illness and psychological behavior.
Mental illness and disability is kind of like a taboo
very
over
taboo
there.
for many cultures. Like even talking about like depression and anxiety is a big no-no.
I was just thinking about China specifically because when I was in grad school, I had a Chinese student who would come to the lab. He was 15 and he was non-speaking, and he was very bright. He could clearly like follow what was being said to him. He would use like flashcards to communicate. He was very physical. He would play tennis. So like he would have done really, really well with an AAC device, an augmentative alternative communication device, which is like, now you could use an iPad, but it's essentially any device where you're typing in or pressing buttons to say what you want to say. He would have thrived with that, but because, and I don't blame the parents, but because they're from Chinese culture, it was such a taboo that they would rather have him like be non-speaking than be speaking with a device. Really? Which is really heartbreaking. And once again, I fully understand it. It's different.
It's just a different culture.
But it was it was just ultimately really sad that this kid was kind of being denied access to communication because of the culture. So yeah, that's an interesting point of like, those things would make autism less likely to be diagnosed just because of the cultural aspects. But then also there probably is truly fewer social discrepancies because everyone speaks bluntly to some level. Yeah, we should look into that
Yeah, I think we should.
because that's very interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That was a good little discussion.
That was a good discussion.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing this to my attention.
You're
Maybe
welcome.
I'm
It
going
was-
to look in. I just clicked on the link to this article.
Yeah, I figured you would have access.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe we could do another
Well,
episode in the future, kind of just
Yeah, ADHD
going-
Journal Club.
going deeper into this topic. And we
Yep.
want to hear your
What are your
thoughts and inputs.
Have you read this?
Are you from a different culture or country and you think of your culture
Are you
as being
part
very
of that
blunt?
group in Berlin? Reach out to us.
Yeah.
What's going on over there?
Berlin autistics, reach
Yeah.
out. Yeah. Regardless, we always want to hear from you guys. So
Yeah.
you can email us at weirdsofafeather@gmail.com. You can check us out on Instagram and DM us. You can check out our TikTok. You can go over and join our Reddit group at r/weirdsofafeather. You can check out our website and you can check out our Patreon for some fun bonus content.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it. That's the
All
Bagel Bite.
Okay.
See you next time. All right. Ah!
That was beautiful, Loon.
Thank you. It was a morning dove.
Oh.
Please.
What's a loon?
I'm offended. Okay, bye.